Welcome back to the James McGee Show. I am your host. I am James McGee. So this is part 3 of how Democratic Socialist mayors are going to ruin our country. Correction, how Democratic Socialist mayors are currently ruining our country. It is my belief that this is the playbook that the Democrat, the liberal establishment, the billionaires are using to completely change the fabric of our country. To recap, you can't do it from a national level. Too much bureaucracy. There is they don't control near as much as everybody thinks they do. Good morning, Tyler. They don't control. They really don't control a whole lot. The control is on the local level. Several years ago, they started with the district attorneys so they could do the criminal justice reform that they wanted. Bail reform, letting criminals empty in the prisons, letting criminals out on the street. That happened with the district attorneys. Now what they're doing is mayors. The most infamous and who we're going to concentrate on again today, because I am pissed today, thought more about it today, and I got a lot to say about Zohran Mamdani. See, Zohran, I named him Zohran because Zohran is a nauseous medication. He makes me completely nauseous listening to him. And of course, he is a dummy. Zohran Mamdani. And we're going to talk about we talked about Katie Wilson 2 days ago in Seattle, and we're going to touch on Brandon Scott today. But Mamdani, I've got a lot to say about him and what he has done with the shooting that happened January 26th. Now I'll play the video. Well, let me recap again for those who weren't here yesterday and don't know about this. So January 26th, New York Police Department. Yes, he is definitely he was in the Epstein files, and there's I think more is going to come out about him in Epstein, Tyler. So January 26th, NYPD officers were dispatched to a mentally disturbed person, Jabez Charcuterie, or whatever, however you pronounce his name. As soon as they arrived, they were cordial. They were led in the house by a family member. When he saw them, immediately grabbed a knife, charged them, got within 1 foot of stabbing them, and they shot him 4 times. He's in the hospital. Mamdani decided that it was the cop's fault. It's the system's fault, and he's the victim. Went and visited him at the hospital, and he's throwing the cops under the bus. It is completely unbelievable. I'm going to play the video again, and there's one part that really struck a nerve with me, and I'm going to tee off on this part.
The Chakraborty family, and I visited Jabez in the hospital, and there is no family should have to endure this kind of pain.
There is no family that should have to endure this type of pain. He's talking about the charcuterie family should not have to endure this type of pain. I don't think anybody should have to endure that. But he is saying that, referencing that is the cops' fault, referencing that it is the system's fault and no self-responsibility. Not that the cops, they don't matter in this. You have 2 cops that had to use deadly force. He hasn't died, but they had to shoot him. That's traumatic. But let me say you something, Mamdani. Do you understand what pain is? You have lived a very sheltered, catered, rich life. You don't know pain. Let me talk about pain. You want to talk about pain? What about policeman pain? You see, this is why this doesn't work. Having people like him as mayors doesn't work. He has a department of 50,000 people he is supposed to be leading. He has no idea of their pain. You want to talk about pain? Let's talk about pain. Mamdani, have you ever given a death notification to a spouse of a cop killed in the line of duty? I have. And 25 years later, I can still hear her screams. I can still hear the scream that she let out when I told her husband was dead. He's never coming home because he was killed in the line of duty. That's pain, Mamdani. That is pain. Have you ever sat with a teenage boy in a trial 7 years later, been living because of the system is so fucked up that 7 years after his dad was killed by a monster, shot in the face, 7 years after his dad was killed, they're still in court trying to get justice. You ever looked him in the eyes? You ever watched the pain in his face that he lived with as a 16-year-old, had been living with since he was 9 because his hero, his father, was killed? I have. That's pain. Do you know what it's like as a cop to witness death, child rape, the worst in society every single day, and have people throw things at you, hate you only because you were doing a job most people don't want to do, most people can't do, and you live with this every day? That's pain. You want to talk about pain? Let's talk about pain. You ever been the spouse of a cop? You ever been the spouse of a cop and kiss your spouse goodbye for a 12-hour shift at 6 o'clock at night and not know, you having to go to sleep and you having to take care of your family, knowing what your spouse is going against, knowing the evil your spouse is going to fight that day, knowing they may not come home, knowing they could end up in prison for making a decision because society hates them, making a life and death decision, and they go to prison and they're the good guys. Do you know what that pain is? You don't know pain. But you don't sympathize. You don't understand because that's not what you have chosen. You have chosen to be a sympathizer of criminals, illegals, drug addicts. You are a scum. You are a piece of shit. You are the worst, absolute worst human. We knew it was going to be bad. We knew that having you as a I hate using the word leader with you. We knew having somebody like you leading the largest city in this nation was going to be bad. You're a month in. It's worse. It's worse than expected. You don't know pain, you fucking scumbag. You absolutely don't know what you're doing. So here's another example. Look what he just did with the homeless. He thinks he has all the answers. He thinks he knows better than everybody, even though he's never had a job. He's never accomplished anything in his life, but he talks well and he dresses nice, and he is an absolute snake oil salesman. But he talks good and he says the things you want to hear. But you know what? It's already falling apart. A month in, they're protesting around his house because he promised them day one, you're going to get free bus rides. You know what? The bus fares went up. Day one, nothing's going to cost money anymore. Well, they're looking for the free groceries, Mamdani. Where's their free groceries at? You promise these people free groceries and they don't have free groceries yet. So they're already protesting him. This man is going to fold. He won't make it 4 years. But look about let's talk about how he has got people killed because he thinks he's one of those politicians that can't recognize that the people before him, they may have done one thing right. No, that nobody has done anything right. What is he, 33 years old? 33 years old, never had a job. I'm going to say that 100 more times today. That means he never had a job. He's done nothing, but he talks well and he made promises and he's convincing. That's what he did while we were working and we were getting life experience and we were doing things to help us lead and help us run organizations. You know what he was doing? Mastering the silver tongue. That's what he was doing. And that's all he has to do. And what they were also doing was importing all the people to vote for him. That's what's been going on. That's what these Democrats are doing. That's how they are taking over our nation. They're finding puppets like him. They're importing all the immigrants, putting them in certain places so they will vote for people like him. And then they prop people like him up. But let's look at the homeless people that he got killed because he doesn't believe in homeless sweeps.
16 of our fellow New Yorkers have passed away outside during this brutal stretch of cold. In 13 of these cases, preliminary findings indicate that hypothermia played a role, and 3 of these deaths appear to be overdose deaths. Each of these lives lost is a tragedy. My heart was with the family of those mourning their loved ones.
Mamdani is responsible for every single one of these deaths. They froze to death because Mamdani didn't want to round them up on the theory that, rounding up homeless people is inhumane. And so it's more humane to just let them freeze to death.
As of this morning,
Matt Walsh is right. This is, he had a better answer than what the previous mayors have done. Instead of rounding them up, instead of doing the camp sweeps, because that's not humane. So we just let them freeze. We let them make their own decisions. Well, let's talk about homeless. And this is something that I can speak on because I am. We have I don't live in the size of a city, New York City, but for the size of my city, our homeless problem is, pound for pound is a problem, has become a problem in the last 10 years. And I've been involved in our homeless initiative, very involved. And so I'm not speaking like some heartless prick who doesn't care. I continually help homeless people. But there's some facts that we have to look at when it comes to homeless that people like Mamdani do not understand because they have absolutely no life experience. They have no operational experience. They're never been in the streets. They've never been in the mix. They've never been in the game. Everything's a theory. Everything's some sort of textbook. We're indoctrinating people like him in colleges, and they think they've done, the proven philosophies, the law and order philosophies that have built our nation and made a successful nation. Oh, that was all wrong. All wrong. Because I learned this at some liberal college. Well, let me tell you about homeless. There's a lot of reasons why people become homeless. But one thing that is consistent, and this is just a fact, and your biggest homeless advocates will tell you this. People are not homeless because they are known for making the best decisions. They're not. I'm not saying they're bad people. They're definitely worthy of help, and we should help them. But they're not known for making the best decisions. Because if they made the best decisions in life, they probably would not be homeless. If someone is homeless, it means they have no other options. Now, there are some circumstances where people just You know, they were born and don't really have anybody. They're orphans. They don't have family. But most of the time, people that are homeless, they have exhausted every relationship they ever had. They are homeless because nobody will take them in because they will not abide by rules. They are drug addicts. They have mental illness. So homeless are not known to make the best decisions, or they wouldn't be in that position. That's just a fact. That's not a heartless prick assumption. That's a fact. So they shouldn't be. So you have to make the decision for them. No, you have to get out of the cold. We have to sweep. We're going to force you into. And in New York we don't have infrastructure here to be able to house the homeless. New York does. So they are forcing them. And you know what? By doing these sweeps that the previous mayors did, you know what they did? They saved lives. They saved lives that way. But Mamdani decides that's the wrong way. He got 16 people killed because of it. Because he let them freeze to fucking death. Because New York, you let a complete clown, a complete unqualified clown become the mayor. That's why this happened. That's why those people are dead. That's why New York has 8 foot of snow. 8 foot of garbage throughout the streets because he doesn't have the sense to put the people in charge that know what they're doing. He puts people in, you know what? As a leader, and I've selected subordinate leaders for a long time. And you know what? I put people like me. I put people with my philosophies. I put people who would support me. Well, when you elect dummies, they select dummies. So let's talk about, let's go to Mama Luca of the day. It's another mayor. And this is what you get, Baltimore. This is what you get when you elect. This is another guy, Brandon Scott. Brandon Scott had done nothing. Got out of college, became a liaison from some city councilman, whatever the fuck that even means. Liaison, what is he liaisoning? He becomes a liaison for a city councilman, then becomes a city councilman. Because the Democrat, that's who they wanted. That was their selected person. Becomes a city councilman. Then they prop him up in mayor. I don't think the guy's 40 years old. And he's never had a job. And he goes out and he buys a $163,000 vehicle. And when he's called out on it, this is his response.
We'll just stop you right there. We get it. We understand that your station has this severe right-wing effort underway. We get that. But you also, you guys are dragging this thing out and also not including all the facts. A vehicle that was purchased in 2023 is not the same price as 2025, right? You have to understand that reality. When you look at, I'm talking, you can listen to and let me talk, please. We heard your question. You've asked the same idiotic question now for 3 months. We understand that when you look at a base price for SUVs, base price of SUVs now are, as you know, between $90,000 and $100,000. You're talking about a police vehicle with police equipment on it added on top of that vehicle. It's very simple. And when you look at these are not astronomical costs, right? You guys in your station in particular would never ask the president of the United States how much the beast costs. You wouldn't do that. You would never do that. This is ridiculous. Let it go. Next.
Well, what they didn't show in this one is he accused them of asking that because of why? Because of why? Race. Because he's black, they're questioning. And then he compares himself to the president of the United States. This is a whole different level. Mayors, that's the problem. You've got these mayors who now think, look at Jacob Frey. Look at Mamdani. Mamdani calls the president and bitches to the president about decisions that he made. Stay in your little city. Do your little thing. But this guy blamed race. He is more than he is Mamaluka today, but he is definitely a Mamaluk. So I will be back Monday morning, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. You know what we're going to talk about? Who knows? Because who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of days. That's the beauty of it. It's forever progressing. Could be talking about mayors again, because I'm sure there's going to be a mayor that does something real stupid. So until then, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday morning. Remember, no one's coming to save you. The world does not give a fuck. McGee is